Welcome to Miele. My name is Vicki, and today we're going to be making Bavarian soft pretzels. We'll be using our Combi-Steam Oven, using combination mode and 3 stages of cooking. So if you've been wanting to explore how to use combination mode with different stages, this will be a perfect starter recipe for you. We're ready to start assembling our Bavarian pretzel dough. The nice thing about this recipe is it uses very simple staple ingredients that most likely you have in your cabinet. So the first thing we want to do is take our yeast and add it to 1 1/4 cup of warm water. This is going to make sure the yeast is fresh. It activates it a little bit before we add it to our flour. So we're just going to let this sit on the side while we get our flour, sugar, and salt ready. The best tool to use for this recipe is a stand mixer. It makes it fun if you want kids involved. They like using stand mixers, and it's easier than kneading the dough by hand. So the first ingredient we have is all-purpose flour. It's 4 cups. I'll add that to my mixer bowl. I already have my paddle attachment on my stand mixer. Then we have a 1/4 cup of sugar. Gives the pretzels a great flavor, just that little bit of sweetness. And 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. Once I have those ingredients in my bowl, I'm just gonna put it on the stand mixer, lock it into place, have it on a low speed. I have it on 1, and just start mixing those ingredients. You don't need to let this go very long. It's just to get the ingredients incorporated. You can even use your whisk attachment if you prefer. All right, I'm gonna stop that. Now my yeast is getting nice and frothy. I like the way it's looking. And again, this is just warm tap water. It's not any kind of fancy water. So now I want to add this to my mixer, and I'm going to keep the paddle attachment on for now. Just combine the ingredients again. And now I can see the dough is starting to come together a little bit, so I'm going to switch to my dough hook. So while I switch to my dough hook, we'll take a little break, and I will come back when we're ready to talk about that process. I've removed my bowl from the mixer stand before I start working with the dough hook because I do like to get my hands in the bowl a little bit and make sure there isn't any flour stuck on the bottom of the bowl. I also like to make sure I don't need to add any additional water. Depending on how warm or cool your kitchen is, you may want to add a little bit more to the dough. This is actually looking like a nice consistency. It shouldn't be flaking apart, but it shouldn't be overly sticky. I do like to have it a little bit on the wetter side because you can always add some flour during the kneading process. Okay, so I don't have any flour stuck on the bottom of my bowl, so I'm good. I'm going to clean off my hands a little bit. I'm going to add it back to the stand. I have my dough hook in place. I'm going to knead it on a low speed for about 7 to 10 minutes. You can keep an eye on it, and if you feel like you need to add a little bit of water during this time, now's the time to do it. All right, so I'm gonna get this started and we'll come back later. Our 10 minutes are up of our dough being kneading in the stand mixer. So now I'm just gonna knead it on the countertop for about 3 minutes, just to make sure it's the right consistency. At this point, if it is too sticky, and you would see if it was too sticky, it would really be sticking to my hands, to the countertop. That would be a good time to add more flour. But I'm really happy with this consistency. There's nothing sticking in the bottom of the bowl. It kneaded nicely. So I'm just gonna continue to do like these 1/4 turns, fold the dough over on itself, and push it in with the palm of my hand. So once I'm done kneading this for my 3 minutes, I'm gonna put it back into my bowl. But before I put it back into the bowl, I'm gonna spray it with some baking spray. So that's a cooking spray with a little bit of flour in it. And then I'll cover it with saran wrap, and we're gonna let it sit on the countertop for an hour before we shape it into our pretzel logs, and then I'll show you how to program your Combi-Steam Oven. So come back in a little bit. Our dough has been sitting for an hour, and now I will show you how to shape it into our pretzels. So we'll just take it out of the bowl. It's it's nice and tender, which I love the consistency of this dough. You can actually smell a little bit of the sweetness from the sugar. It's not like a bread dough. It definitely has a different smell and texture to it. You can see that it didn't rise as much as maybe a sourdough bread or a baguette. So I'm just gonna make 8 little triangles. I just happen to do triangles. You could do 8 to 10 pretzels will work out nicely with this size dough. So I have my little triangle here, and now I'm just gonna start shaping it into a log. Now at this point, if you wanted to, we could just make them into nuggets, but I would like to show you how to shape an actual pretzel shape. Now that I have all my dough pieces shaped into logs, it's time to dip them into a mixture of warm water and baking soda. I have about a half a cup of water. It doesn't need to be exact, just not over about a cup, because I did measure out my baking soda to 2 tablespoons. So my water, baking soda. The baking soda gives your pretzels that really signature dark brown color for pretzels. And now I have this mixed together, and you want to dip each piece of dough into the baking soda mixture. Make sure it's completely coated. This is a fun activity when you have to do it with kids or friends. It's kind of fun baking these. So then you're going to take your dough, now that it's coated in the baking soda mixture, and you're going to put it in the shape of a rainbow. Once you have that shape, you'll take your 2 ends and you'll cross them over twice. Take your 2 end pieces, wrap them back around to the top, and you have your very traditional pretzel shape. We have all 8 of our pretzel logs shaped into our traditional Bavarian pretzel shape. I have them on 2 Combi-Steam Oven universal trays lined with parchment paper. So now it's time to program the oven, and I could put them on any shelf level. We're going to be using convection bake, so we'll have even heat and even moisture throughout the oven. So when I go into operating modes, the first thing I want to do is choose combination mode. And now I'm going to show you how to set the stages. I selected convection bake, set the duration. The first stage, I'm selecting a temperature of 215 degrees, and I'm going to select 8 minutes with 100% moisture. So let me just get this down to my 215. That's really mimicking just 100% steam by using that low of a temperature. Now the oven's asking me if I want to add another stage or finish. Well, that was our boiling stage for the pretzels. So now we want to add a second baking stage. We'll stay in convection bake, but now we're going to adjust the temperature up to 400 degrees. We'll lower the humidity to 60%, and now that stage will bake for 10 minutes. So we'll select OK. And now for our third stage. Our third stage is where we're really going to get the pretzels nice and brown. So I'll lower it to 0% humidity. I'm going to bake them at 425. So again, convection bake, set the duration. We'll go up to 425. And this is going to be, we'll do 10 minutes, and we can keep an eye on it. Always want to keep an eye when you're baking to make sure it's at that brownness that you like, and we'll select OK. Now we're done. We have all 3 stages set in, so we're going to say finish. It recaps what we've programmed in. We're all good. We'll select OK and start now. So we'll come back, we'll keep checking in throughout the stages so you can kind of see what's going on in the oven, and then at the end you'll see how we finish them off. So now the programs have finished. We went through all 3 stages of baking these pretzels. I'll take them out. And then what we need to do to make them really extra special is add a little bit of melted butter and some pretzel salt. So you can see the great color that you get just from dipping the dough in that baking soda mixture with water. So I've already melted 2 tablespoons of butter. And I chose to use an actual pretzel salt. So this is salt that I bought online. It works really nicely to stick to the pretzels. You could use coarse kosher salt if that's what you have on hand. So just brush it with some butter. A little bit of the salt. Let them cool for, I would say, I know it's hard to do, but you can let them cool for about 5 minutes before eating. And there you have a great recipe, Bavarian soft pretzels cooked in your Combi-Steam oven using 3 stages.